Welcome to another episode of RAMD, where we are finally looking at Ape Escape again. This time we're looking at a little game called Pumped and Primed, which was released for the PlayStation 2 and would be the last Ape Escape game to be published by Ubisoft. Now, this is a very different game compared to the other ones. Okay, well, Peepo Sorrow 2001 was pretty different, but let's not think about that for now. Pumped and Primed isn't really a platforming, catching monkey action game. Pumped and Primed is kind of like a party game. Think Mario Party, but throw out the board game, throw in more combat, and you're pretty much thinking the right way. But we're going to get more into gameplay later. For now, let's take a look at the story, shall we? Because, yes, there is actually a story to this party game. I know technically there's stories to the Mario Party games for each board, but this is a bit different. Well, let's start from the beginning. The Professor, Spike, and Natalie wind up inside a virtual world. Yeah, most original idea ever, right? Anyway, there's a tournament going on, and no, they're not racing around on light cycles. And there's lots of interesting participants in this event, including peak point helmet wearing monkeys. How do they get inside? Beats me. In fact, come to think of it, I just realized they never exactly show how they get into this virtual world. Are they digitized in? Are they wearing virtual helmets? I don't know. The game kind of expects you to just go with it. So sure, what the heck, let's just forget about how they get in there and just focus on the fact that they're in there in the first place. There's a comical scuffle between Natalie, Spike, and the monkeys, and Cassie comes to interrupt and let them know that the tournament is going to start soon. So they go a few rounds, and then the unthinkable happens, and I mean by unthinkable that it's already happened in the first game. Jake has been turned evil by Spectre!
It seems as though Spectre is controlling Jake again.
What?
Dun 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 again! This is getting ridiculous. Jake has only appeared in 2 Ape Escape games, and in both of them, he's turned evil. Is he trying to rival Knuckles for the most times turned against hero record? Anyway, you kick his butt, he rides or flies off or whatever on his motorcycle of magic. Next, they go a few more rounds, and then Spectre shows up. And now I'm realizing that this game would have been much more interesting if Spectre was made a playable character. Oh well, that'll have to wait for a later entry. In a great plot twist, Spectre actually brings out his Goliath robot. Well, that's not really a plot twist considering he always brings out his Goliath robot, but this time, it can actually walk!
Wow! I can't believe it! That's a Goliath armor with legs!
Unlike in Ape Escape 2, where it basically fell through the floor. So, yeah. Good job, Spectre. They make a funny remark about evolution.
Don't you get it, Spike? Do you realize what this means? That thing finally walks with 2 legs! It's a technological advancement in evolution!
Well, maybe robot evolution. And then, of course, you kick the Goliath's giant metal butt. Now, at this point, you may be thinking, well, obviously Spectre's the main villain again, because he's always the main villain. Not true this time, actually. For the first time in Ape Escape history, it's actually someone new. Listen up, because this is where it gets strange. Okay, so first of all, to understand the main plot of this game, I'm going to have to talk about Helga. Helga is a new character for the Ape Escape series. She's basically the champion of the previous virtual world tournament. As you play through the game, you'll unlock hidden videos. I'll be covering most of these hidden videos in the last part of this series. However, for Helga and the Peepotrons, I'm afraid I'm going to have to talk about them right now because they're pretty important to the story. So basically for Helga's hidden videos, you see that she's walking home and she discovers that her home has been ransacked. The hidden video shows her talking to the media and basically doing some research. She sees that her father was trying to leave a message behind, and this kind of bothers me because they make it seem like he's in danger, like he was killed or something, but at the end of the game, the professor's like,
I had no idea you were my friend's daughter. Please say hello to your father for me.
I will!
What? Okay, so her father's fine, and he knows that whoever attacked him was after something to do with the virtual world, and then he just let his daughter go into the virtual world. Kind of a bad fatherly move, in my opinion. But anyway, you get the point. Helga's really distraught because her house was attacked. Now I'm going to have to talk about some other characters. These characters are called the Peepotrons. Did you guys see that? No? Let me play it again. Did you see it that time? Still no? Pretty fast, huh? Okay, let me slow down each individual image for you. Yeah, now you saw it. You just see a hunter who was fighting some apes? Yeah, I completely missed that. I did not see that. It went by so fast. I did not catch that until I went into the editing process of this video. I had to go back and completely record the audio you're listening to right now. So apparently, the Peopletrons were originally normal apes. They were captured by this scientist in the wild. And in a rather dark and disturbing cinematic, especially for Ape Escape standards, he kind of turns them into some weird psychic mutants. Speaking of psychic abilities, maybe they were kind of based around Spectre, because he floats around too. Anyway, if you watch the Peopletron's hidden tapes, you'll discover that they were actually the ones that ransacked Helga's house. They were the ones who attacked her father and took the disc. This is important for the next half of the game. When we get to the halfway point, the Peopletron snatch the trophy out of Helga's hands and give it to someone. The trophy is revealed to be a special disc, which the main villain needed to fully control the virtual world. He says he can use it to conquer the world.
Of course!
But it's not entirely made clear how. Yeah, I think you'll notice they're starting to see some flaws in this story. They kinda didn't include enough details for it to make that much sense. But anyway, oh well, it's not that complicated. They steal this, they use it, take over the world. Okay, so anyway, what happens next? Well, you see, the games were bright and colorful and kind of friendly before. However, now everything changes, including the gameplay, which I'll touch on later. Everything's darker, the enemies have changed. It's a nice shift. Now, as you go through this half, you'll once again meet Jake on his motorcycle, but this time he's Dark Jake. Okay. Jake has been corrupted by the disc and turned into some type of freak. He comes after you with his motorcycle again because the programmers couldn't be bothered to include anything new, to be honest with you. So you beat him again. However, he's not saved until the very end of the game. You go through more of the game, defeating the baddies, and you eventually come across Spectre, who I'm guessing is Dark Spectre? I'm not entirely sure on this one. I don't think he ever calls himself Dark Spectre, but I could be wrong. So, after defeating Dark Spectre on his Goliath plane thing, you're off to have your final confrontation with the main enemy, whose name is only Grid Core. As it turns out, that disc that was stolen by the main villain is actually something to decrypt the core of the virtual world, so he can control it fully. And he uses the disc to become the core, and then you have to fight the Grid Core in the final confrontation of good and evil. I just gotta say, this Grid Core thing, anyone get serious Andros flashbacks with this thing? Okay, so the grid starts crumbling, and it looks like the main characters are all about to be killed. But then Cassie just teleports them out of there. Takes a minute, but she gets it. I almost forgot. Cassie was introduced in Ape Escape 1, if you'll recall, as an artificial intelligence created by the professor to help you. But here she has a bigger role, as she's actually a playable character you can choose. And it's nice to see her again. This time, her actually being with the characters and not just in a screen, though she still is in a digital environment. You notice I haven't spoken much about Spike, Natalie, or the Professor, despite the fact they're in this game. Well, that's the thing, they're not that important to the story. Oh, don't get me wrong, they're in most of the cutscenes, but, well, whereas in Ape Escape 1 it was all about them and rescuing them and Spike defeating Spectre, here it's just, they're there along for the ride with everyone else. They're about as important as the monkeys. Pretty much their main job is just to react to everything. Like, oh, the core is exploding, or oh, what's going on, or oh, I'm falling down. I mean, they still have their moments, and that reminds me, there's still a few interesting things to discuss at the end of the story. So, of course, the grid monster collapsed or whatever, and I guess the scientist is dead, and everything seems right with the world. But there are a few funny moments left in the game. First of all, Natalie asks Helga to come and visit the lab because Spike will apparently like it, basically implying that Spike has a crush on Helga, and he blushes, so I'm assuming it is true. Plus, the TV series that comes later kind of adds to that, but we'll get to that later. But without a doubt, the most hilarious part in the entire game is, well, this.
Day ever again.
My monkeys! You did so good! I'm so proud of all of you! Even though I was being controlled, I never forgot about you! Let's all go back home and plan to take over the world together! You monkeys ruined my touching moment! You all shall pay!
Now, wasn't that awesome? That is probably some of the best humor I've ever seen in an Ape Escape game. Who would have thought it would come from Pumped and Primed? The Peepotrons fly off, and that's the end. See you later, Peepotrons. To finish up the story segment, I suppose I could talk about the voice acting. I looked up the voice actors, not many of whom are worth mentioning, but there are a couple. For one, hello, Windy Lee.
Amazing! So this is where the tournament with the high-tech machines is going to start.
Ugh, how many things is this woman in? Most people know her for Haruhi, but she's in like a billion things. Seriously, just go check her out on IMDb. She's in like everything. Anyway, she plays the role of Natalie, and I have to admit, she does actually a pretty good Natalie. Maybe the best. By the way, I basically told you all that Ape Escape 2 is kind of a 4-kids get-together, right? You know, Dan Green and Ash and Misty and all that. Well, I'm not exactly sure what this is, but I can tell you one thing. There's a Digimon voice actor in this game. He actually did the voice of Devimon and the Digimon Emperor from Season 2. And he did the voice of Jake.
Welcome to the tournament!
Getting dark, Jake. But yeah, those are the two voice actors I wanted to mention. As for the voice acting in general, well, I gotta say, it's actually pretty good.
Man, that was fun!
Fun? Are you kidding? We almost bit it back there, and the whole world was almost destroyed. Everyone, thank you all so much. Everyone, listen to me. The world is returning to its normal state. I will warp us back to the stadium entrance.
Amazing. Can you believe this is actually a virtual world?
After Ape Escape 1, the voice acting has kind of come together. And I just realized I say kind of a lot. Kind of. But yeah, I like the voice acting. It all works perfectly for every character. Spectre's voice makes me laugh, but I have to admit, it's still very Spectre-ish, if that's even a word. The professor's voice is perfect. Every professor voice kind of sounds the same to me, even though I know they're all different voice actors. I wish Ape Escape could have one focused cast of voice actors like the Japanese version, but oh well, that's pretty tough to do. Anyway, I think that pretty much wraps up the characters and story of Pumped and Primed. Join me next time where I will get to the meat of the game, the gameplay.